I am the eternal optimist that high-impact entrepreneurs have our future in their hands. That is actually very, very good news. For the last 14 years, I've seen a particular type of entrepreneurs that we define as high-impact entrepreneurs. Those that start a company, have a capacity to grow it fast, big, generate wealth and distribute it, generate jobs, thousands of jobs, become role models and a source of inspiration for potential entrepreneurs. But more important than that, high-impact entrepreneurs do something that very few people recognize, which is when a high-impact entrepreneur becomes successful, and define success any way you want. $100 million in revenue, selling your company to a third party, going public on the stock market. When entrepreneurs reach that level of success, and then take the credibility that comes with it, the knowledge, the experience of being successful, of building and growing a company, the financial gains of your effort of taking the risk, and they take all of that success and reinvest and mentor in entrepreneurs in their same industry, their same region, in their same city, in their same country, those entrepreneurs multiply themselves times 10, times 20, times 30. And then those 10, 20, 30 entrepreneurs that are benefiting from the success of other entrepreneurs do the same thing over and over and over again. That's a very simple idea that I want to share with you, which is successful entrepreneurs multiply themselves so that other successful entrepreneurs keep on multiplying, and they can transform the world. Let me try to prove it to you. So a few years ago, I met an entrepreneur from Jordan, Fari Gandour. He launched a company called Aramex, which is the FedEx of the Arab world. Some of you have probably read about Aramex and Fari Gandour. If you read The World is Flat by John Friedman, he talks about Fari. So he started this company 25 years ago. He spent the first 10 to 12 years just building it, completely focused, narrowing in on building a very successful company. And around 97, I think, the company went public on NASDAQ, the first Arab company ever listed on NASDAQ. The moment he did that, so imagine the credibility for someone like Fari, who goes public in NASDAQ. Everybody recognizes him as a genius, as the Superman of Jordan. Great mentor, a lot of financial resources, of course. I mean, he's the CEO of a very successful company. And right after that, he starts investing in other entrepreneurs, mentor another entrepreneurs. How much? So we recently did a survey in Jordan, in Amman, asking as many high-tech, IT-based entrepreneurs as we could find. And we asked them a simple question, which is, tell us, if you can, who is your early investor, your early mentor, or the person that inspired you to become an entrepreneur? Here's the answer. This is a network map of the Jordan, part of the Jordan IT sector. I'm not showing you all of it. It's in concentric circles. Every circle represents a different decade. So you can see Aramex of Fari Gandour right at the center. For the first 10 years, 15 years before the IPO, Fari inspired or mentored or invested in one very small company, which is right over there. After the IPO, which is in the 90s, the late 90s, early 2000, an explosion of investments and mentoring to other companies. Maktub, Media, and a range of other entrepreneurs that then have invested in other and other entrepreneurs. So if you just look at this slide, you do think that Fari Gandour is the Superman of Jordan. Take Fari away, take all those lines, each line represents an investment or a mentoring to a direct, active, operating entrepreneur today. This doesn't include companies that have failed. So these are, to some extent, successful companies so far. So Fari Gandour is Superman, except that he's not going to like this, but he is not Superman. And this is very good news for Jordan, which is when we looked at the entire ecosystem of entrepreneurs, this is what we found. So Aramex is there, Fari is there, pretty big. This is a complete picture of entrepreneurship, IT-based entrepreneurship in Jordan. 100 companies, 120 companies. All of them trace their origin, an investor, a mentor, or a source of inspiration, to 5 very successful entrepreneurs. One of them is Fari, who in the last 25 years started their companies, became successful, and used their success to invest, mentor, and inspire others. So this is Jordan. Now, if I remove from the title Jordan, and I put in Chile, Mexico, Brazil, Turkey, Egypt, even if I put Silicon Valley, it would be the exact same picture. Bigger in some cases, smaller in other cases. But it's the best example of bottom-up approach to economic development, where a single entrepreneur starts a company, grows a company, becomes successful, and uses that success to invest in other entrepreneurs that then replicate that. That cycle that I just described is, to me, the most powerful tool of economic development that the planet has. Nothing is more powerful than that. The question that you should probably be asking yourselves now, just by looking at the Jordan map, is, so what? So you have 150 owners of companies. Yeah, they're creating some employment, some wealth. GDP of Jordan may be growing a little bit or not. Who knows? Is this really changing the world or not? I think it is. Let me look same problem or same issue of entrepreneurship or business creation, but from a different perspective. There are approximately 65 million registered formal companies in the planet. I'm counting here a mom-and-pop shop on the corner, or Starbucks headquarters that counts as one company, not 13,000 individual Starbucks stores, just one Starbucks, all right? So these are headquarters, mom-and-pop headquarters or Starbucks headquarters. 65 million. It's estimated that there are 200 million people unemployed in the world. So that means that if we could talk to each one of the 65 million companies registered, again, these are formal companies. You can imagine that in formal companies there are millions, self-employed people more than millions, but these are the formal companies that have payroll, that are paying taxes, right? So if we could ask each one of them to hire 3 people in the next 2 years, we solve unemployment. So what's going on? Why can't we ask that question from these companies? Or why aren't they hiring just 3 people in the next 2 years? If we look at the distribution of companies, what we find out is that 90% of them, so that's 59 million, are micro businesses. They have on average 1.4 employees. 6 million of them are small, medium-sized enterprises. They on average have 35 employees. 200,000 companies started last year or in the last 100 years have become big, and they employ more than 1,000 people. What this actually means is that 90% of all of the current formal companies on the planet have never created a single job other than the founder. When we include the small and medium-sized companies, 99.7% of all the companies existing today in the planet have, on average, 35 employees. So that leaves the remaining 200,000 companies that are the ones that are actually creating the bulk of employment, formal payroll. If we look at wealth creation, start on January 1st all the way to December 31st, where GDP is 0 on January 1st, and GDP is whatever amount a year later, it turns out that 55% of all of the wealth is created by those 200,000 big companies. So the message is not that our future is in big companies, but our future is in growing companies. The world is not going to be a better place if we have thousands more micro businesses. Let me move on and give you an example. Country by country. Which country do you think has more formal companies proportional to the size of that country? The US or Greece? If you just looked at micro businesses, Greece has 75,000 businesses for every million people, while the US has 15,000 micro businesses. So Greece has 5 times more companies than the US, proportional to their size. If you look at big companies, the US has 3 times more companies than Greece. What this tells us unequivocally is that It's a lot easier to start a business in Greece than in the US. You can start a micro business in Greece like that. Growing a company in Greece is nearly impossible as compared to the US. That's the challenge. It's growing companies that generate growth of an economy and well-being. So let me finish with this. The positive outlook for Greece or any other country for that matter is that if we wanted to increase GDP by 1%, Greece could either create 30,000 micro businesses or have 25 entrepreneurs start a company that becomes big. That would move GDP by 1%. That's impressive. That's very good news for Greece. 25 entrepreneurs can do this. The bottom line is, high-impact entrepreneurs are those that start a company, grow it, become successful, and use that success to invest in others. So if we want to change countries like Greece, or any country for that matter, high-impact entrepreneurs have the capacity to move the needle, like Farid Gandour has done in Jordan. There aren't that many high-impact entrepreneurs in the world, but that's okay. The world doesn't need that many high-impact entrepreneurs. 5 of them in Jordan created an entire IT ecosystem. Public policy cannot buy more high-impact entrepreneurs because it's about the success of an entrepreneur being invested in the success of other entrepreneurs, and success takes time. So the best policy recommendation that I would have to creating ecosystems, to changing the world, is do not obstruct people like Farid Gandour from doing their job. Get out of their way. Our future is in good hands. Thank you very much.